What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Contractor Secrets Podcast. I'm your host, Tanner, and in today's episode, we're going to talk about the two types of decisions that you are going to be making in your business. Now, if we narrow down our main responsibility as business owners, it is to make decisions. Now, I'm not saying it's to make good decisions. I'm not saying it's to make bad decisions, because usually we don't really know if it's a bad decision until the decision takes its course. But I will say that the transition you make from employee to business owner requires you to be a better decision maker. And part of the reason why maybe you listen to me and maybe listen to some others is, to help you make better decisions in your sales and your marketing and your hiring and your administrative role. So I really wanted to focus on decision making today, because decisions ultimately add up to your destiny. So I'm excited. I think this is going to be a great episode for you guys. I appreciate you listening, and it's going to get started right now. The big question you need to ask yourself every day is, do I own a job or do I own a business? And unfortunately, the majority of contractors out there own a job. That's right, they're a slave to their own business. But the other side of the fence is so much greener, it's so much better, and that's when you're finally fully in control of your destiny, your freedom, your time. And that's what Contractor Secrets is about. It's about taking back our time, building a business with systems, standards, values, procedures, putting yourself in the driver's seat. And that's what it's about. So I'm excited. I'm happy to have you here. Let's dive into the Contractor Secrets podcast. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Contractor Secrets podcast. So I want to kind of talk to you a little bit about decision making, because ultimately, if you're a business owner or you're planning on being one, your ability to make decisions is essentially what your greatest responsibility is. Now, I didn't say good or bad decisions. That's essentially your job, to have discernment of what type of decisions you're going to make in every area of your business. But that's ultimately your responsibility. You are the ultimate decision maker. And this is a major transition from if you were an employee, because at some point as an employee, maybe you made a few decisions, maybe you had some authority, but the buck never stopped with you. So when you become a business owner, when you get to that level of stature in an organization that you're trying to grow, there's no one else to ask. It's you. You're the one who decides what direction to go in. And there's so many decisions that need to be made. I would say that, I guess, everything that I try to help teach and all the podcasts and all the videos, really, if you boil that down to its core, it's helping you make better decisions in your hiring and your marketing, in the way that you handle your administrative roles in your business, in whatever direction you're going in. Your decisions ultimately build the business that you currently are in. And as in the same way that our future decisions will help impact the type of business that we have, the type of organization that we have, the decisions that you made in the past are giving you whatever result that you have now. So really kind of just helping you with these fundamentals of understanding how important this is. So I really want to focus on decision making in this episode, and I really want to help you understand that there are two types of intentions when making a decision. The first intention is money driven. Okay. So money driven decisions are decisions that really either make you feel like the decision would cause scarcity in terms of money, or it would help you make more money. That's really it. If there was a scale of which way the decision weighed, it would lean heavily toward money being the motive. So the second type of decision that you're going to be making in your business is what I like to call mission driven. So you're either money driven or mission driven when you're making a decision. Now, hopefully, the mission that you're making the decision based off of is a good mission. So we're just going to, use that as our base point there, as, the intent that you have for your business and the people in it, are of good intent. So when it comes to decisions, I kind of want to break down the different areas of your business and give you some examples on how the money driven the money driven motive versus the mission driven motive, can differ based off of decisions. So essentially, one big issue, and I'll kind of preface this, is any area where you're experiencing stress in your business, or something's not working out in a way that you had hoped, or if you're just not happy in some area, you feel overwhelmed, I would assume that the decisions that got you there were more so money driven rather than mission driven. when I first started my business, and here's just one example in terms of, and we're going to go through each area, but one example that I want to share with you is when I decided to hire an accountant. Um, Obviously, I knew that hiring an accountant was a sizable investment. I didn't just hire somebody that said they knew how to use QuickBooks. I went to a firm. I went to somebody that knew exactly what they were doing. And although the cost initially was really higher than my car payment at the time, and starting a business, you're kind of weary about, agreeing to such a high expense. The money driven mentality would have said, you know what, I don't need this right now. I'm going to save my money, or I can save that money and save more of it if I don't have this expense. The mission driven mentality is, if I do this, I'm setting myself up for a really good financial foundation in my company. I know how important it is to make sure that the books are right, to make sure that everything's in line, and more importantly, my business is essentially the home, the safe place for future employees. So the mission behind what I'm building here is essentially that I want that foundation to be as strong as possible, right? So again, the money driven motive is, I don't need to spend this right now. I can save it, or I'll figure it out myself so I can save more money. The mission driven is, I'm going to make this investment right now because although yes, I can't see the return, I'm faithful in the fact that I will get some sort of return, even if the return isn't in direct proportion of which I'm giving up, which is money. So the return just could be peace of mind. And ultimately, that's way more valuable than money to me. So let's talk about another example, money driven or mission driven. I think a lot of us have this internal battle with workers, with employees, maybe even giving raises. I think some of us know that there's some people in our business that deserve a raise, and we go back and forth in our mind and say, well, I don't know if I can afford that, or if I give them that raise, then that'll mean I make less on each job, or if I give them that raise, maybe they won't work as hard, and I'll be at the mercy of, them taking their foot off the gas and not producing quality work. And then I don't get paid as much. So everything I just mentioned to you there is money driven motive. Now, mission driven motive is, I'm going to give this person a raise because I want them to know that they're recognized and they're important. And ultimately, I want them to feel like they are getting something for the hard work that they have put into the company. They deserve it. And ultimately, mission driven mentality is, if they are the type of person that after giving them the raise, they show me that they take their foot off the gas, and that becomes, they become demotivated, then we need to sit down and do an assessment with that person. And ultimately, if it continues, then, thankfully, I would be able to see that that is something that, this person represents, and maybe they're not a good fit for our company anyway. So mission driven, right? So I'm really big about giving raises. It's more of an intuition to me. I don't really try to calculate it. If I kind of go with my heart on it, if I know that somebody's busting their butt, I've done it many times where I've seen someone go above and beyond on a job site, or, just really just showcase that, they are really trying. I'll pull them aside on that job and say, hey, man, you're really showcasing to me that, you really care about this opportunity. You deserve it. And I'm going to give you a raise today. And that's probably one of my absolute favorite things to do. Mission driven. I don't care about the money. Yes, I'm going to be a good steward of money. I'm very, very good at making sure that I know my costs. That gives me a little bit of confidence in being able to do that. I'm not saying that mission driven means that you have to be ignorant in terms of what your expenses are and in terms of what your costs are. And I get all that stuff. That's not what I'm saying here. What I'm saying here is that we don't want the motive to be money driven in these areas first. If you just focus on mission driven mentality in everything that you do in your business, you're going to find resources that otherwise wouldn't be available to you to help you grow even further if everything that you did was money driven. I think that there's a lot of us out there and I know that there's some of you out there that are listening to this that do not have a payroll system set up in your company. I just know it. Okay. And I get it. I know it's a little intimidating. I know that you may think it's expensive to set up employer taxes and set up workers comp and set up all those things. I get that. I understand it. I have coached enough people to know that this is a very sensitive topic for a lot of people, mostly because they're not they're not really confident in it. And I've offered multiple times to help a good amount of contractors really walk you through this. And if you're listening to this and you're having an issue, I would do the same for you. Just reach out to me. But essentially, what it comes down to in this small group of people is that they don't want to spend the money on the payroll service itself. They're intimidated by having to pay more taxes, which are a legal requirement for a business that has employees, and they don't want to pay the workers' comp, which is again a legal requirement in most states. And it's really like that's a money driven motive. And sometimes the money driven motive doesn't always have to mean something that you act on. It's in the same way a money driven motive could be the decision not to act. That's a decision as well. So the decision that I had when I, again, first started my business, I said, again, I have to create a good foundation here, mission driven. The money will come. I have to build the foundation first. So the mission driven mentality for me was find a payroll company so my employees have more stability in their finances. I want them to get a pay stub. I want them to get direct deposit. I want to be a company that does everything by the book in an industry that standards are so low that I am going to attract great talent for this simple reason, because I decided to implement a payroll structure and create stability in an area that is very, 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 very delicate and important. I've heard stories of contractors writing checks and not, keeping track of hours and, and paying cash and all this stuff. And like, that's money driven. You're trying to save money. You're trying to either save money or you're trying to avoid paying money, which is, I guess, the same thing. But again, money driven motive. Mission driven is I want to build this company with the mission that I want to create a great environment, great atmosphere. I want to create peace of mind in my employees. I don't want there to be a money conversation with my employees of, hey, how many hours, or you cut my hours, or it's just that's just not how I wanted to grow my business. Okay. Next, so we're talking a lot about administrative, in the same way we're talking about, we'll go into hiring. Money driven mentality is quick hiring so you can get the next job done. Money driven. All right. Mission driven is maybe even picking up the phone and postponing that job and saying that, coming up whatever excuse you have to come up with and taking your time with the hiring process, because that's the foundation of your company. Remember, all you are as a business is an accumulation of people coming together for the purpose of delivering the service, product, or end result. So if the people coming together aren't of good value, then your product, service, or end result will not be of good value. And the only way to decipher if an individual is of good value is to take your time and get to know them as best as you can and at least have a system in place. But a lot of us, hire quickly, hire cheap, and ultimately we find ourselves in a position where we are working 9 to 10 times harder than we would if we would have just went mission driven on that decision and ultimately hired somebody with care, with concern, and ultimately took our time. Okay, so the money driven motive took over that decision to, again, we hired quickly, we were paying them cheap, and we're trying to get that next job done, when the mission driven mentality is, what, I may have to hang up the phone, or pick up the phone, call them, explain that there's been some sort of thing that came up and you need a little more time before that job starts, or whatever you have to do. Mission driven. Now, here's the reality of the situation. If you're following me on this, the mission driven mentality is way harder. But ultimately, the mission driven mentality is based off of you completing the mission, and whatever that mission is should pull you to be able to do something like that. So my mission is to create an incredible painting experience, and not only that, provide stable, worthwhile employment that provides stability and gives my employees a place to come to work each day and showcase their craft and get better at what they do. And that's my mission, right? And more importantly, internally, I want to help them achieve different accomplishments as they work alongside me, whether it's going from an apartment to a house, or getting themselves a new car or maybe saving some money for their family. And like, just like that to me is mission driven. And if that's my mission, so I won't do anything to compromise that mission in terms of my decision making. My decision making is the only thing that can compromise my mission, right? So as I'm doing these business breakthroughs, I'm seeing a pattern. And you know this is like the hardest decision to make in our industry a lot, is to say no to certain job types. Because again, I have no problem saying no. We got 3 cabinet refinishing calls this week. I said no to each one. Okay. Money driven or mission driven. Money driven is, I got to figure out a way to do these cabinets. Like, I got to figure out a way to, to start serving these customers. Money driven. Mission driven. No, we don't do cabinets. We need to get perfect at house painting. Our 2 crews right now are not perfect yet. We're still growing. So why would I pull them from getting better at doing our core task just to take on more money doing cabinets that I could otherwise be making if I just stuck with house painting? Okay? And the alternative would be to hire a completely new team and have them do cabinet coating, right? But that's not what we specialize in. So then I would have to have that entire learning curve of cabinet coating that ultimately I know isn't going to be done to the standard of which it should be done, with a shop, with the right equipment, with the right tools, like mission driven. Now I'm making decisions, yes, mission driven in terms of business mostly, but let's talk about my personal life. Do I want that commitment? Do I want that on my plate just to make more money? No. So that's me personally. That's my mission, is to be here for my family, is to have the freedom and the time that I work so hard for. Just, so why would I compromise that just to satisfy, a market who is in demand of a product that we don't offer, just to do it, just to make more money? That is money driven decision making. And if I did do that, it would take away my attention and focus and my systemization on house painting. Okay, so a lot of us have this issue where we just keep taking everything, and we're not able to systemize. And in most cases, the decision is money based motivation. Okay, so next time you have an opportunity to, speak with a customer and they offer, they ask you to bid something that you're not familiar with, but you're thinking, you have a decision to make. And what you really should do is this a money driven decision I'm about to make, or is this a mission driven decision? And when you do that, it's really going to help you, decipher, what direction you're heading in. And more importantly, it's going to help you make better decisions that, although, yes, in the short run, you will not make as much money. That's the whole purpose of this. But in the long run, the intangibles of what you're building are going to eventually bring you the peace, the time, the systems, the structure, the standards, everything that I try to preach in here can be yours with this mission driven decision making mentality. Okay. And it happens all day. I can sit here for the next hour and give you example after example after example. Every decision that you make in your business, whether to, here's one example I'll give you, just how detailed this is. I mean, essentially, the other day we were painting a realtor's house. We showed up late. Okay, there was an issue with the paint store. My project manager told him to go to a different paint store, and that was across town. So they drove together. The 2 people went to go get the paint. So they were late. The guy that I had as the foreman, the number 4 on the crew, he was there, but he was, he's not really used to introducing himself to the customer. It's not his job. He's essentially a crew member. And my project manager, he was late coming from wherever he was coming from, and he didn't inform me that he had been traveling and whatever. Long story short, we were late by 17 minutes. Okay. And the customer texts me and says, "Hey, are you still coming?" And as a business owner, like, you never want to get that text, even, like, it's just not our standard, especially if I had promised this customer that we would be exceptional. The promises that we make, I just did a podcast on that, are so important to me. So immediately I pick up the phone. I say, "I'm so sorry. There was a little miscommunication of, where the paint was being picked up. Totally our fault. We will make up for it with exemplary, you know, um, workmanship, and we're gonna do a great job. So, she was cool. She's like, oh, okay, yeah, I just, but even if she wasn't upset, to me, that's not our standard. So obviously I dealt with that in terms of reaching out to the project manager and making sure that, this doesn't happen again. So that was squared away. As the day progressed, at the end of the day, she had sent me a picture that we left the hose outside. We left it uncoiled, so it kind of looked kind of messy. It was our hose, so it's like this ugly, hose that has just some paint on it from us washing brushes frequently. That's a big suggestion of mine. Get your own hose if you go to jobs. If you're in whatever you're doing, I think there's many trades that need a hose. Bring your own hose. It was something that we haven't done in the first year or two of our business, but the guys kept getting paint on the other hose, and it's not that we didn't clean it. It's just taking the time to sit there and clean someone's hose. It's a total waste of time. So if you're not doing that, bring a hose to the job. So anyway, so the guys didn't coil up the hose, and there was just like a piece of trash, and like she sent me a picture of that, and it was like, although, yeah, is that a big deal? Like, does that have anything to do with the actual workmanship, which I know was great and flawless, and that was great, but that's again not the standard that was promised. So, you know, she then, after calming her down and then getting with my project manager, unacceptable. So we had that coaching conversation of, what's acceptable and what's not, and it was a mistake, and like all that stuff that a business owner has to do continuously. It's isn't it, there is no such thing as a perfect manager. Things do happen. The foot gets taken off the gas a little bit, but the best managers are the ones that make up for it and say, it's my fault and I will make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's what happened. So we're cool. Everything's square. But I'm on the hook with this customer in a sense that this person now is, the way I approached it with my manager and my supervisor, I said, look, we're down 0-2 right now. Okay. We dropped the ball on getting there on time. And now, even though this is small, even though you guys are wondering why I'm freaking out right now, and it's just a hose, it's not just a hose. You have to understand that there is competition out here that she could have hired way cheaper than us. And I put my word on the line and said that we would provide her an exceptional experience. And that hose uncoiled outside of the house with paint shadow around it from cleaning out our brushes is unacceptable. It's not our standard, and it was missed. So let's admit that we missed it. Let's move forward. But now we're 0-2. Okay, so now we have to overcompensate big time to restore her faith in us, regardless of the workmanship. And that was one of the things that one of my managers said. Well, she didn't say anything about the work. And I said, that's great, but we're expected to do great work. The experience is everything we do outside of that work, everything that we do, how we act, and how we clean up, and like that is what makes us us. That is what gives us 300 plus 5-star reviews across all channels. Is that level of care? Okay, remember, we're expected to do a good job. You don't buy a car from a brand new car from a car dealership and expect it not to run. I mean, that's the expectation, but how you're treated at the car dealership is exactly what gives you the incentive to refer somebody or go back to that dealership. So that's how we operate, right? So I kind of had to overcome that mentality of, well, what about the paint job? Well, it wasn't just the paint job, okay? It was the experience, right? So moving forward, her daughter had wanted a different color in the room, that she had initially different than what she had initially told us it was. Okay. So it was about 3 gallons of paint. Okay. And when she texted me after her and I went back and forth and I apologized, I said it wouldn't happen again. She's like, so my daughter, she saw the color in our room. She likes the color in our room, and she wants a new color. Is it too late to change it? And, initially not really thinking, just kind of like giving her an honest answer. Hey, yeah, actually we already purchased that paint, and one thing I'll do is just, it's $90, it's 3 gallons of paint. We won't charge you, I mean, any more than that, just what we paid for it. And then we'll just swap it out. And then I sent that, and then I said, wait, was that a money driven response or was that a mission driven response? Right? Because initially, as a business owner, you're trained to think costs and, and maximizing. I was like, was that money driven or was that mission driven? So before she can even respond, and I think I want to read this to you. I'm just going to pull it up real quick. I'll see if I can grab it while I'm recording here. And that's the thing. And even just a small situation like this, guys, I mean, it's mission driven or money driven. And I said, yeah, here it is. I'm pulling it up right now. I said, This is before she even responded. I said, you know what? For being late today and for our little issue left outside, I'll make the change for you at no charge. You can keep the additional paint and give it to one of your homeowners as a gift. And then she said, oh, thank you. Very nice of you. Right. So that was a mission driven response. The mission is, yes, obviously I want to overcompensate here, but forget the money right now. I don't even care if I make any money on this job. Mission driven. This is a realtor. I had given her my word on exceptional craftsmanship and an exceptional experience. I dropped the ball on this one job. I don't care about the profit on this one job. I care about the mission. So it's a learning experience for my guys. And I was able to kind of give her something, and make her feel as though, wow, this company really does care. Mission driven. And real quick, let me finish this off by saying, can your customers feel that you are money driven or mission driven? Absolutely. 100%. Can your employees feel if you are money driven or mission driven? Absolutely. 100%. So my suggestion to you is think about it, what it would be like to work for a business owner who was mission driven in terms of the way that they conduct business, where that they don't care about money in a sense that they penalize you with it. They make you feel like it's scarce, or mission driven, where if you make a mistake, I want to go back real quick, because maybe if you heard that scenario, of somebody that would say to the project manager, hey, I just had to give $90 of paint away to this customer. You guys are going to pay that. Like, that's a money driven decision by a money driven business owner, right? Me, I'm eating the cost. It's my fault. Everything is my fault in my business. Everything. It doesn't matter what happens. It's my fault. Whether I put that person in that position or I hired them, I'm the reason they are there. And anything that happens within that job is my fault. You should never, ever penalize anyone in terms of money unless you are money driven in your decision making. Mission driven. I'm going to use this as an example to teach. I'm going to use this as an example to grow. I'm going to give the customer $90 worth of paint. It could have been 5 gallons of paint. I would have done it. I don't care. I don't care about making money on this job. Mission driven, because we're going to get better from it. And ultimately, I was able to go up 1 on her. Maybe we're up 3-2. Okay. We always start the game, 0-1 in most cases, but in this case, I'm just giving you an example of the mindset going in, just as contractors, you're 0-1. But I think we're in the lead here, and and the goal is to win over every customer. So again, I just wanted to give you guys kind of like a more detailed situation scenario so you could see how important money driven decisions and mission driven decisions, and how important it is to decipher between the two. Now, yes, is there a place for money driven decisions? Absolutely. Okay. So it's your job to have discernment on what type, on which type that you're going to follow through with when it comes time to make that decision. So I hope this was of any value to you. I know it was kind of a deep topic, but decision making is your job. You're a business owner. And if you don't have a premise of, at least narrowing down the 2 types of decisions, then, you don't know where to aim. And a lot of us have great intentions. So my thing is, any decision you make today, ask yourself, is this a money driven decision, or is this a mission driven decision? And it should really help you get better at making good decisions in your business. All right. So thank you guys. I very much appreciate you listening to this. I hope you have a great day. Hope you get after it. If you're interested, I would love to chat with you. If you want to do a free business breakthrough session, it's free, 100%. All that we ask is that you allow us to put it on the podcast here, and I can cut some clips for Instagram to help other people who are going through the same thing as you. So think of it that way, is that even if you're going through it, there's a 99.9% chance someone else is as well, who may not know me or may not reach out to me, and they might come across kind of the advice I'm giving you, and it could help them in their business. So don't be shy, reach out to me. Be happy to help you. All right. Thanks so much, guys. You have a great day. Hey, I just want to take a second to thank you for joining me here on the Contractor Secrets podcast. I'm just going to take this opportunity to let you know that my passion is coaching people, helping people. I've changed my Instagram name to @contractorcoach. And I did that because that is my passion. I want to help you. So please reach out to me. If you have an issue going on in your business, send me an email. Find me on Instagram, message me, and let's do a breakthrough session. I want to work through your problems in your business to help you get to that next level. And one thing that I always say is this, the difference between those that get over the humps and the hurdles in business is just a change in perspective. And that's what I plan to offer you. So get with me, message me, allow me to help you take your business to the next level.